So hi, my name is Cujo. My good friend Nathan asked me to make a video on yoga, and I also have a podcast with him if you would like to hear us talk about like fighting games and hip hop and some of the stories that he has. But anyway, I just want to talk about my experience with yoga. So I think back in 2022, beginning around there, or the end of 2021, I had my wisdom teeth removed, and the dentist that removed my wisdom teeth told me that I couldn't exercise for 2 weeks. At the time, I had been weightlifting a lot more, and this put me into a whirl of panic. I'm just kidding, it did not scare me that bad. But I didn't want to lose the progress that I had made at the time, so I figured I would give yoga a try because I knew that it was a form of exercise that focused on you just tensing your muscles and holding a pose. So after the 2 weeks was over, I was just going to go back to weightlifting and leave yoga in the dust. And I have included yoga into my practice clear until the day I'm recording this, which is like almost the end of June in 23. So I've been doing it for about 2 years or so. The reason I kept it a continual part of my workout routine was because I noticed myself getting a lot more flexible when I was doing it. And I also loved the feeling of my body at the end of a yoga practice. Your body tends to feel really warm because the way the practice is structured, the blood starts to flow through your body, but it's not really intense on your heart or just like a hard cardio workout. It's just enough to get the blood flowing in your body, and I can even feel it in my gums. Like my gums and my teeth feel warm. It feels weird to say, but but it's really, really good for blood flow. I'm still kind of a novice, honestly. I'm not super deep into it. I have a base level knowledge, but I would at least like to give you that knowledge and recommend yoga if you would like to try it out. So I wrote down 3 different practices. There's a ton more than this, but they're kind of in a line, or there's elements of each practice in each of them. But the 3 practices I wrote down was Hatha, Vinyasa, and Yin. Hatha focuses on strength and pose holding. Vinyasa focuses on breathing and flowing. And Yin focuses on flexibility and being able to stretch more and more. Aspects of them next to each other is because there's elements of all of these in each of the practices, but the focus is based around an aspect of the practice. So like I said, Hatha, you focus on holding a lot of poses and is focused on strength building, but you want to focus on breathing, and there's slight stretching in the practice typically. This is what I started out with, was a lot of Hatha, and I've moved down the line towards Yin because I've been doing a lot more weightlifting lately. You'll hold a pose in Hatha for a really long time, and it's supposed to tire the muscles. That's the whole point of it. You want to build strength and be able to hold harder and harder poses. Vinyasa is almost like the balanced yoga practice. It has elements of Hatha and elements of Yin, but the primary focus is moving with the breath and keeping your focus on the breath as you do the different motions. If you just want a entirely universal, complete practice, I would recommend Vinyasa. And in Yin, you still hold poses, but the poses are meant to be somewhat in a relaxed state where you put your body weight onto a body part and you just focus on relaxing onto that body part to stretch it. There's a couple different practices like sun salutations and restorative, which is like Yin. You just completely stay on the ground, though, I think is the point of restorative. But I picked these 3 because these 3 practices are kind of the pillars to me of a good yoga practice. You can pick one of these on whichever you want to focus and integrate it into whatever other exercises you're having, or just do all 3 and count that as your exercise. I mainly do yoga for the health benefits. I really enjoy it still a lot, but I mainly do it to improve my personal health because it improves the blood flow in your body. It improves your strength and flexibility overall. But I think the West overlooks that it improves your focus a lot too. The nature of a yoga practice is actually supposed to be kind of uncomfortable while you're doing it. It can be really hard to hold some poses, and it strains your muscles and then pulls on others. Your mind will like scream that it's uncomfortable or try to pull your focus away with boredom. To get a good yoga practice, you shouldn't be bored. You should be focused on holding the pose with your mind and your body linked with your mind. They talk about the mind-body connection with yoga, and that's the main focus of it, is actually developing a really good mind-body connection in order to focus it towards one goal. You also shouldn't be too stressed either. There's different levels of yoga that you can do that you can try to get that good balance of both. You want to be focused, you don't want to be bored, and you also don't want to be stressed and strained. I'm not sure if people have heard this that often. I learned about it like 6 months ago, but there's a type of yoga called goat yoga. And the whole point of goat yoga is actually hold focus on the yoga practice and not let the goats pull your attention away from your practice. So the goats are allowed to run around you and like ram into you or jump on your back or limbs. And the whole point of it is to keep the focus on finishing the practice, which I think is really, it's hilarious. I've never done goat yoga, but there was a couple times when I was doing my practice when my little siblings had jumped all over me, and I used them as kind of my goats in a way. I kept focusing on the practice. It's kind of funny, and I can laugh and enjoy them being there, but I keep kind of gently pulling my attention back to the practice. The whole goal of yoga is not really how many times you fall. It's if you fall 7 times, you get up the 8th and finish the practice. So mistakes are actually welcomed in yoga. It's just very important that you finish the practice because you show yourself that you can do things in the face of adversity. But yeah, one of the things I think that bothers me, at least in my culture, I live in the Midwest, is the weird conception that yoga is a exercise made purely for women when it's actually not intentionally made to be an exercise in the first place. You can use it as exercise, but like I said, it was to further the mind-body connection. But I think that there's been men in my culture that completely dismiss yoga and attach a feminineness to it. I would like to encourage that stigma to go away. It's for all genders, for anybody, even people who are disabled. There's chair yoga. It's helped me as a man in so many different ways. I would just want that for other people. But yeah, I really love yoga. The mindset that you need for yoga that you develop can actually be carried over into other skills that you build. Like if I were to look at weightlifting and yoga are actually really similar, even though they're completely different focuses. I mean, you have to hold focus in both of them. I guess you need the same mindset for both of them. The mind and body need to be connected in order to finish a good weightlifting session. Or if you're competing in anything, or you're trying to make music, make videos, compete in games, these are all stuff that I've tried to do or am trying to do. The whole entire being needs to be unified in order to complete a task. And yoga, if you don't have anything, yoga is such a good way to access that. If you were wanting to try yoga, I have some recommendations. I personally use the app called Down Dog, but I've also read that an app called Yoga Studio and Pocket Yoga are really good. Of course, you can go to yoga classes and stuff like that, but I think a lot of people watching this won't have the time to dump into a yoga class to know if they like it or not. So those are some apps that I use. There are also practices here on YouTube that you can watch. And if you want a really simple practice, you can look up Sun Salutations. It's a very simple yoga practice that's like 4 or 5 poses, just repeated over and over. But anyway, yeah, that's all I have talking about yoga for right now. I opened a Patreon with a $3 entry. I don't have anything up on there right now, but I would like to add stuff in the future. Some of the plans that I've thought of doing is making a Discord for people who watch my videos to jump on, as well as adding instrumentals from my songs onto there. So if you just like beat tapes or listening to instrumentals from albums, I will probably put them there in the near future. So if you would like to support me, the Patreon's in the description, but you don't have to. This is just if you would like to. I really appreciate it if you do, and I really appreciate you watching anyway if you don't. So working on cool stuff like music and videos, all that jazz. But thank you for watching, and goodbye now.